What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about how Canadian elections work. So, this is really something that is very, very overdue for me to finally learn about. But to be honest, we really don't get taught much about the Canadian government or Canadian elections here in the United States in our schools. But it would seem the time has finally come. This is going to become very, very relevant here soon because I can see there are some news headlines talking about Carney is expected to call an election very, very soon. I actually have a video here I want to watch. This is pretty breaking news.
Two sources confirming that Mark Carney intends to dissolve Parliament and call an election this Sunday, which is the 23rd. The election day.
Wow. Okay. There's a couple things here off the bat that I do not understand at all. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. So, the way they phrase this.
Two sources confirming that Mark Carney intends to dissolve Parliament.
He's going to dissolve Parliament. What does that mean? He dissolve Parliament. Parliament is the Canadian government. He's going to dissolve it, as in bring it to an end? Disband it? Stop it? What is dissolving Parliament? I only know from chemistry class, dissolving chemicals into solutions and hydrochloric acid. You remember that stuff? Anyway, that's what I think of when I think of dissolving things. Like chemistry, but he's dissolving the Parliament. Not sure what that means.
And call an election this.
He's calling an election. You can just do that? If you're the prime minister, you can just call an election? Why would he want to do that? He is the prime minister right now. If he calls an election, doesn't that raise the possibility that he loses the election and is no longer prime minister? So I didn't even know he can call an election or why or how he can do that. This is a national Canadian election where y'all are going to vote for the prime minister. By electing representatives to different parties, and I'm going to get into all that. I have a very vague understanding of that, but this is a big deal. And it sounds like he's doing this. I don't necessarily understand the reasons why or how, but let's keep going. And hopefully I'm going to try to clear up a lot of this stuff and learn about what this all means. So don't worry if you're shouting at your screen like, Tyler, you moron, it's so simple. He's dissolving the Parliament and calling an election. What's so hard? It's I'm sorry. I don't know what that means.
Sunday, which is the 23rd. The election day, our sources are saying it varies, April 28th or the May the 5th, that a final decision has not yet been made. But this is from sources confirmed to CBC News and Radio-Canada. And Janice, we can go with this now, so I'll just go back.
Okay, so this is happening very, very soon. They said possibly in April here coming up. This is all happening very quickly, so I really feel like I have to understand what's going on to have any kind of educated opinion on what's happening. So I'm going to close out of this video for now and go to this one. This is how the Canadian electoral system works. And I think it's going to use bright, colorful graphics. And this is sort of made to explain Canadian elections to children, which is probably what I need. That's probably the level I'm at right now with how Canadian government works. So this is explaining to me like a child how this all works, which is perfect. So let's see.
In a democracy, we hold elections to choose government representatives. Elections are basically contests where interested candidates campaign for our support and ultimately our vote.
So far, This is very similar to what I know and understand here in the United States. You have candidates and you vote for one of them to win and lead you, and then later on disappoint you. And oh, is that not how it has to work? Okay, let's keep going.
There are many different systems used around the world to determine who is selected and who forms government. In Canada, we use the first past the post, or a single-member plurality electoral system.
Single member plurality. First past the post. Okay, I'm hanging on here.
Our country is divided into small areas called ridings. The people
Oh.
living within a riding are called constituents.
Canada is divided up into ridings? Is that like in America, like a district? Or it sounds very similar. It's just a designated area of space or people or whatever. It's a riding. A riding. Okay, I'm not familiar with that term.
Ridings are determined by population size as well as geographic factors,
Sure,
such as
sure.
roads and rivers in cities and towns,
Okay.
which means that the size and shape of a riding can be very different.
Okay. Okay.
During the election, several people in each riding will compete for the job of representative. These are known as candidates.
So each riding in Canada has a representative. How many ridings are there in Canada?
Usually, they're associated with a political party, but sometimes they're not, in which case they are called independents.
Sure. Okay.
Under the first past the post system, one person or candidate is elected per riding to represent the constituents.
Okay.
Voters can only choose one candidate on their ballot. And the candidate who has the most number of votes within each riding wins.
Okay. So, this is similar to how in the United States, how we elect our representatives as well. So I can wrap my brain around this. You just call it different things. It's a riding, and that's where you vote for your representative of your riding. Okay, and that makes up the Canadian government. And then there's some things I do understand about, like the prime minister is the leader of the majority party, and the majority party is literally the party with the most representatives, which are elected from all the ridings, right?
They are still elected, even if they don't have the support of the majority of voters. They just need more votes than any other candidate.
You don't need a majority. You don't need a majority, but you do have to have more than any other candidate who is running for your riding to be your representative. Got it.
In the next election, Canadians will elect 338 MPs to sit in the House of Commons, meaning there will be 338 mini election races across the country.
That's the part that's complicated for Americans to understand. That's where, okay, I get it. There's 338 little elections all around Canada because there's 338 ridings, and that's going to be how many members of parliament there are. And they are all part of a certain political party. And depending on what party they're in, that's going to determine who the majority party is, and therefore the prime minister.
And the party that wins the most races will most likely form government, and their leader becomes the prime minister.
Most likely? Why has there got to be all these exceptions and all these little extra rules? Like, most likely? If you have the most representatives, you're probably the majority party? Is there any circumstance where you're not?
If the governing party has more than half of all the seats, they will have a majority government. If they have half or less, they will have a minority government.
Okay.
In order to pass any legislation, bills must receive the support of more than half of the members. You can see how it could get tricky with a minority government.
I see. So right now, the Liberal Party is the majority party in power. Are they a majority government or a minority government? Seems like it'd be very hard to be a majority government. You have to have a lot of people around Canada voting for you, representatives. Wow. But this is where parties working together in the Canadian government to get bills and laws passed, that's where that becomes important. That's something I can understand. In America, it's just simpler, maybe, because we just have two parties. Like, logistically, like, practically, we have two parties, even though there's technically more. It's two parties, like, unfortunately, which kind of narrows down your options, which is unfortunate. So I really like that Canada has more than two parties. I actually love that. Let's keep going.
The difference between winning and losing a riding can be decided by even one vote out of thousands.
Wow.
And an entire election can be decided by just one riding. That's why your vote is so important.
Okay. And I mean, if I'm continuing the analogy so I can understand all this, basically in America, all of the states, the 50 states basically have mini elections within the state. And whoever the state votes for, all of the state's votes, which is electoral college votes, which represent the state, all of those votes go towards the candidate that won that state. So that's kind of like in Canada, except it's a riding, and there's over 300 of them instead of 50. There's over 300, and therefore all these members of parliament, and got it. So that was very much needed for me to understand what the heck is going to happen on election day in Canada. More so, I want to take a look at maybe this article. Liberals are lagging parties and candidates, lagging the other parties and candidates as the election call could be days away. That's the word on the street, is that an election is going to be called. This is where I wanted to ask ChatGPT. I'm going to use my crutch here, my little AI robot that is on my beck and call here to just exist to answer my questions because I don't know what's going on. So I'm using ChatGPT. I've already prompted it to answer any questions I want. I said, I want you to answer me about how Canada's elections and government works. Please give explanations to me so that an American like myself can understand. And it is ready to answer my questions. So, how can the Prime Minister call an election? Yeah, I hope it understands what I'm trying to ask. Oh, it's searching. Come on, ChatGPT. I'm really depending on you right now. Okay. The process for calling a federal election involves the Prime Minister and the Governor General. The Prime Minister can request an election by advising the Governor General to dissolve Parliament. This is formally done by presenting an instrument of advice to the Governor General. The Governor General, I've heard that term before. So the Prime Minister can request an election, doing this to the Governor General, but he has to recommend Parliament is dissolved. I don't understand that part. Following this, the Governor General issues a proclamation that dissolves Parliament. What does Parliament be dissolved? Dissolving Parliament mean? Yes, okay, please. What does dissolving Parliament mean? There's only a few specific questions I actually have here. Dissolving Parliament is a process by which the current session of Parliament is ended, typically at the request of the Prime Minister. This dissolution is a formal step required to clear the way for the general election. When Parliament is dissolved, all business that was pending, including bills and committee work, comes to a halt and must be reintroduced in the new session if they are to be pursued further. The dissolution of Parliament leads to the electoral process, where I can't even talk. This is crazy. All seats in the House of Commons become vacant, and elections are called to fill those seats? Essentially, it's a reset of Parliament's composition? What on earth? This is much more intense than I thought. The wording alone, it is pretty straightforward. It is what you would kind of think dissolving parliament means. I just didn't believe it. Like, it's a reset of the Canadian government. All of the seats in the House of Commons are vacant. So everyone just loses their job? Like, well, okay, why is the Prime Minister allowed to do this? Like, and then I might ask why he would do this. It's primarily as a function of the parliamentary system. This power is rooted in the parliamentary sovereignty and the Convention of Responsible Governments, meaning the government must maintain the confidence of the House of Commons to govern. The ability to dissolve Parliament and call an election allows the Prime Minister to manage the legislative agenda effectively and seek a fresh mandate from the electorate when necessary. This is strategically advantageous in various scenarios. Okay, I'm sorry this is so dense, but honestly, this is super fascinating for me. Like, this is the first time I'm finally getting a straightforward answer to a lot of this stuff. There's been a lot of, like, Canadians, like, very helpful in the comments and messages, trying to, sometimes explaining some of this stuff, but for me, I think having just, like, this robot explain it in exactly the way I need it is very helpful for me. But I appreciate Canadians trying to help me on this. But I'm just so locked in right now. Like, okay, this could be strategically advantageous in various scenarios. So, the Prime Minister has the ability to dissolve Parliament, which brings everything to a stop in Canada, which seems kind of scary. What if something happened? Something major happened right at that moment in Canada, like something crazy, and the Canadian government needed to jump into action and do something. I guess this is only for a very, very short amount of time while the voting is going on, or something like that. Anyway, Parliament is like screeched to a halt. The members of Parliament are all fired, or for lack of a better word, go home, get out of here. And everything's just reset and stopped. And Canada just comes to a stop and votes on a fresh new government. That's really interesting. That's kind of awesome. Like, I didn't know that was a possibility, like, for any government in the world. I've never heard of that before. I didn't know what these words meant. Anyway, so why would you do this? If you're the Prime Minister of Canada, you're in power, you're leading the country, why are you opening up the possibility of losing that? I suppose it would be, as this is saying, because you don't have the confidence of the government, and you want to call an election because you're confident that you're going to win. You're confident that you are going to win a lot of members of parliament, that your party is going to be in power, and you're going to prove that your competency and your confidence by calling an election. It's basically just like like a power play, or I don't know what the word is. It's just like to prove you are what the people want. To prove you are what the people of Canada want the government to be. Is that what it is? Because that's pretty cool. Like, I think in the United States, most presidents, if they had this power, most US presidents would never do this willingly. Am I missing something here? Like, this seems kind of selfless, but there must be something to gain. Like, if Mark Carney is calling an election, there's something to gain from it. Maybe it's an even bigger majority government. Like, he thinks that the Liberal Party is going to win more seats or something. Or this can be advantageous, such as capitalizing on high approval ratings or in response to a political crisis. That's what it seems like is the case right now in Canada. Like, Justin Trudeau literally stepped down from being Prime Minister. Mark Carney was elected Prime Minister. People aren't sure if Canada is deciding if it wants Mark Carney, the Liberals, or Pierre Poilievre, with the conservatives, right? And this election is just going to show what Canada wants, I guess. So it's a political crisis or a deadlock. It makes it a deadlock in Parliament that makes it difficult to pass legislation. So Canada can't pass laws and legislation right now because it's a deadlock. Like, there's no majority. Like it said earlier, for laws to be passed in Canada, you need a majority of the members of Parliament to vote on it. So they're calling an election to try to hopefully get more MPs so that whoever's in power has more voting power. It also acts as a mechanism to ensure that the government reflects the current will of the people. That's the part I love. That's the part that's like awesome to me. This is amazing. Canada is literally just able to be, okay, if we don't like what's happening right now in our government, we can literally hit the reset button and see what the will of the people is right now. That's amazing. Like, I love this. We should have this in America. Like, if you're not happy with your government, you can just see what the people want. See if it's true. This power is a check within the Canadian system. If the Prime Minister and their party do not perform according to expectations, voters have the opportunity to elect a new government. Wow. This is essentially fundamental to Canada's democratic system. Wow, I didn't know about all that. That's pretty amazing. So this is all just a check and balance on Canada's what the will of the people want, and wow. So I think that's pretty good. This video, I really just wanted to understand Canada's election system and some of this recent stuff, because believe me, when Americans hear that Canada is calling an election and Parliament is being dissolved, like my first reaction to that was like, huh? What does that mean? Why would you do that? You guys can just have, like, we only have a presidential election every 4 years, like clockwork, very specific times. It's all very specific and planned. Canada, you can just, like, call a federal election whenever? I had no idea. That's a really cool mechanism of the Canadian government. I had no idea about. So yeah, this was great. I'm sorry most of this was just me kind of talking to a robot, AI, but that actually turned out to be super helpful. And I got a lot out of this. I get it. And I'm ready. Is Canada ready? Because it sounds like an election is coming soon. Oh my God. Whew. A lot of stuff happening. All right. Well, if you enjoyed this, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on any of this Canadian election stuff, your opinion on what's happening, what's gonna happen, or if there's anything that I didn't understand about Canadian elections and the government. If you want to try to clear that up, that'd be awesome to hear about as well. I appreciate that. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canada and learning about Canadian culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.